Temporarily ghost. Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish, C10, Demonio, Dinaja, 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 Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish, Demonio. Dinaja. Abarera. Nikos. Ram. Ori. Banish. C10. 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 Demonio. Dinaja. Abarera. Nikos. Ram. Ori. Banish.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Satan and Coffee, Sunday Black Mass. As always, we begin. Hail Satan, hail Lilith, hail Lucifer, hail Timon, hail Baphomet, hail thyself. We reject the Trinity, we reject the baptism of John, we reject the baptism of the Spirit. Hope you are all well. I've missed all of you so much. It pains me to have needed to skip two of our masses of my dental locations. Fortunately, I had to find someone that can, when I am incapacitated, that can carry forth the service when I'm not of. But in due time, yes? So I do have a surprise for all of you. I will be reading an excerpt from the Book of Baphomet, Conversations with the book that we'll be publishing shortly. I read for you one of the conversations. Is it very low? Have that cranked. Let's see here. What can we do? What can we do to fix this? 1 second. Is it? Okay. Interesting. That shouldn't be happening. Let me crank this up a little bit. Is that a little bit better? How is that? Is that better? Arsenic, welcome. Very much. Okay, good. I just kind of had to crank the dynamic mic aspect of it up a little bit there. Output volume, mic, impedance mode, clip guard. So I have clip guard on, clip guard indicator. So I think that's good. Let me see filters, because I do have a noise gate here. If I increase the close threshold a little bit, say to 28. No, bring that down to 40. Is that any better? There's definitely inspiration. Sounds fine. Excellent. All right, so yeah, there's definitely inspiration there. It's also very hot, so I had to remove some off the top there. Where we're peaking here at around 42 degrees almost every day. So I said, yeah, the hair's got to go. The hair has got to go. So what we're going to start out with, we will be getting into Satanic Bible as we always do, but I'm going to read you an excerpt from the book that I'm writing. Okay. Oh, trust me, I am. Got a gallon of water right here, so a gallon of water a day. Let me get this open here. So the one thing that I do want to point out, and I do hope that everyone is okay with this. So the idea for the Book of Baphomet was never to be designed to be like something like Matt Oren's Psychic Witch, or something like the Black Arts or something like that. It was never meant to be a how-to guide necessarily, right? That breaks down into every nitty-gritty detail and talks about things at length to the point of absolute and utter boredom. I much like the Oracle deck, the accompanying Oracle deck that I am creating for it, it is designed to open up a pathway and give you an idea of how to work on that pathway, and then let you kind of take a step forward. So I do hope that everyone isn't expecting a super long read, right? This is something that you could probably read in 1 or 2 sittings. Okay. So I wanted to read one of the conversations. So there are essentially 3-4 conversations that are directly outlined in the Book of Baphomet about the way that we believe and worship and things of that nature inside of the left-hand path, or inside of the occult. And so I wanted to read one of those conversations for you guys today. Okay, or at least in part. Right? Maybe not the whole conversation, but part of it. Understand that when I say conversation, this is not a conversation as such where you would sit down with a iced coffee at a Starbucks table with a friend and have a conversation in such a style or way. This is important to remember, that these conversations, these spiritual conversations that we have, are done in dream, done in meditation, done during ritual, things of that nature, right? Sometimes the voice in the back of your head is yours, sometimes it isn't. And it is through meditation and ritual that we begin to understand when that voice is ours and when that voice isn't ours, right? And it is important to be able to identify that, because when you're being shown direction, when you're being shown and guided, it is important to understand that something greater than yourself is guiding you in that moment. Yeah? So, this is written in such a way that I did not quote myself verbatim in the manner in which that I had asked questions, but rather in such a way that I felt fitting towards the mood of the book itself. Okay. So that's also an important thing to kind of take into consideration here. So, opening the conversation is myself. Baphomet, I seek your wisdom and guidance. There are so many misconceptions and confusing surrounding magic and the occult. Can you help me understand the true path? Baphomet, you've called upon me with a sincere heart, and so I shall speak. I am part of the root of the black tree of life and death, an eternal symbol of balance and unity. The knowledge you seek lies in understanding the very foundations of existence, not in the superficial pursuits that many chase. Myself, the root of the black tree of life and death. What does that mean? And how does it relate to our understanding of magic and the occult? The black tree represents the interconnectedness of all things, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Its roots delve deep into the mysteries of the cosmos, drawing nourishment from both light and the dark. This is the essence of balance, the reconciliation of opposites. Many who seek magic and the occult are drawn to it for personal gain, power, and material success, but this is a diversion from the true path. Myself. So the true path is not about personal gain. Then what should it be about? True magic and the essence of the occult lie in personal and spiritual gnosis. It is about understanding the deeper truths of existence and the self. It is the journey inward to the core of your being and outward to the furthest reaches of the cosmos. This journey is not about acquiring wealth or power, but about achieving wisdom, enlightenment, and unity with the universal consciousness. Myself. But it seems that so many teachings and practices focus on spells for wealth, love, and influence. Have we been misled? Indeed, many have become misinformed and distracted. The pursuit of personal gain can cloud judgment and lead one astray. Magic is a tool, a means to an end, but the end should always be higher understanding and spiritual growth. When used purely for selfish purposes, it distorts the soul and hinders the true progress. How can we move away from these distractions and realign ourselves with the true purpose of magic and the occult? Begin by shifting your focus from the external to the internal. Reflect on your motivations and intentions. Seek knowledge for the sake of enlightenment, not for material benefit. Embrace the principles of balance and unity. Study the ancient texts, meditate on the symbols, and engage in rituals that foster personal and spiritual growth. Surround yourself with those that share this higher vision. What practices can help in achieving this personal spiritual gnosis? Meditation and introspection are key. Through these practices, you will learn to quiet the mind and listen to the subtle truths of the universe. Rituals should be performed with the intention of understanding and transformation, not manipulation. Study the sacred geometries, the alchemical texts, and the mystical teachings that guide you to the heart of the black tree. So there's an excerpt from the book. I do hope that that is satisfactory to everyone, to get that little excerpt. So you can have a bit of it. These conversations progressively become more in depth and more focused on certain things that apparently we have done wrong over the centuries. So I just wanted to share that with you guys so you guys have something from it. Later on today, I'm going to be uploading 2 or 3 of the oracle cards that'll be accompanying the book upon release. As I've mentioned before, the oracle deck, this is the 6th iteration of this oracle deck. As an artist, as a creative, when I create something, when I make something, initially I think I have a good idea, and then when I revisit that thing within a few days or a week, I become quite literally disgusted and revolted by it. There's a complete iteration of this oracle deck that's already finished. The very first one I finished in maybe a month's time, and I didn't immediately jump on releasing it. I waited and I went back to it, and when I looked at it, I was like, this is disgusting. This is not what this is supposed to be. And so I'm currently finishing the 6th iteration. There's about 4 cards that need to be created, but this iteration of the deck is the one that's going to stick. This is a combination, accumulation of all of the 6 iterations that I made, and how I want this to be represented. There is no book, there is no text on the cards. This is an oracle deck of the purest form. You open the deck and you use the deck and you interpret the deck. That is it. There is no assistance from my side of things. There is no words or numbers on the cards. There is only the image, yourself, and the reflection that you grab from it. And that is something that I definitely wanted to create with this deck. This is not a deck for beginners. This is a deck for somebody that is well initiated into the practice of tarot and oracle reading. Somebody that has a deeper understanding of divination practices, and when they use this deck is designed to enhance that connection and that reflection that comes from it. So that's what that's for. So I'm glad that you guys are excited and looking forward to the book. I couldn't write a book about Baphomet without covering the history of Baphomet. Obviously, there's a couple of sections that kind of cover in depth, obviously the Templar history of Baphomet, but it very quickly moves beyond that into stuff that is what I have learned through my practice. Currently studying tarot more deeply. I'm always collecting new decks. Yeah, so later on today in the community section, I'll be uploading 2 or 3 cards for you guys to look at and give your opinions on. So I hope that you find that as satisfactory as you did the reading. So let us begin with the Satanic Bible. To become a Satanist, it is unnecessary to sell your soul to the devil or to make a pact with Satan. This threat was devised by Christianity to terrorize people so they would not stray from the fold. With scolding fingers and trembling voices, they taught their followers that if they give in to the temptations of Satan and lived their lives according to the natural predilections, they would have to pay for their sinful pleasures by giving their souls to Satan and suffering in hell for all eternity. People were led to believe that a pure soul was a passport to everlasting life. Pious prophets have taught man to fear Satan. But what of terms like God-fearing? If God is so merciful, why do people have to fear him? Are we to believe there is nowhere we can turn to escape fear? If you have to fear God, why not be Satan-fearing and at least have the fun that being God-fearing denies you? Without such wholesale fear, religionists would have had nothing with which to wield power over their followers. Now, so this is something that I find that is very important for us to cover and very important for us to discuss. The concept of God-fearing and this idea that Satan is the all-powerful form of evil, right? That the demons are extensions of that evil. That the demonic rites and entities that we work with are extensions of that purest form of evil. But if we were to look at the Judeo-Christian concept and dogma, the structure set forth in front of us, if we were to see these things and understand these things for what they are, we know and we understand that God created everything according to the Bible, and therefore God himself created evil. Evil could not exist if not for God to create evil. Which, if God is to create evil, would that not make God himself inherently evil for creating what we believe to be evil? Now, anyone that knows me and knows my teachings understands that I do not believe that good and evil are such black and white terms, but rather moral concepts created by human beings to define a pleasurable outcome and a displeasurable outcome. A pleasurable outcome is good. A displeasurable outcome is bad. And this falls down to choice and the intention of choice. Your intention defines whether or not something is good, evil, or just simply acceptable. The extreme example that I've always used in all of my speaking is murder. We can generally agree that murdering or killing another human being is inherently wrong and potentially evil. But what is it about killing someone, another human being, that is evil? Is the action in and of itself of ending another human life, is that evil? Or does intention itself play a part? And wholeheartedly, intention plays a part, and we can see that inside of circumstance. The circumstance surrounding the act of killing another human being. If you are to kill another human being because for some reason you enjoy that action, that is the intention that makes things evil. To kill for pleasure is evil to the masses. May not be in your mind. You may have some, like you as the person that enjoys that action, you may have some type of twisted moral justification in your mind, but at the end of the day, we live inside of a society of laws, regulations, rules, and understanding that to stop someone else's progress in life is a no-no. And even in Satanism, to hinder the progress of another human being simply for the sake of hindering their progress, not in defense of anything, is a no-no. And I'm not going to say a sin. It's not, there's no mortal sin. It's just an action that one should not take against another human being. Now, the circumstance in which where murder would be considered an okay action in defense of oneself, in any circumstance, somebody breaks into your home, defending your home, ending that person's life without knowing their intentions is a good intention. The good intention is to protect yourself, your family, and your property. The same on the street. If somebody were to attack you on the street, pull a knife out on you, pull a gun out on you, to end that person's life because of their intent to stop yours, or the potential intent of them to stop your life, your progress, to take the action to end that person's life, is not evil. But in many cases, it is good, because you are protecting yourself. You're protecting your right to live and to exist, because that right has been threatened directly. So, the idea and concept of good and evil are human moral concepts. There is no all-powerful form of evil. It is the intention behind the action that dictates whether or not something is good or evil. Your intention behind your actions is the whole of the law. We should always be aware of our intentions before we act. Why are we doing this? Not just what are we doing, but why are we doing it, is the bigger and greater question to be asked before following through on an action. And if through why you find holes in your logic or ways that you can do things differently without following through on that evil intention, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We can most definitely, we are human, we are fallible. It's not to say that just because you have a good intention doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to fuck things up. That is complete the opposite. There's going to be many situations in which where we are going to completely fuck things up, regardless of our intentions. But it is the intention that flags the moral compass to be good or evil. Nature is both beauty and chaos simultaneously. The beauty of a sunrise, of a sunset, the beautiful sound of chirping birds in the morning, the cool wind, summer breeze, the oranges and the reds, the fiery colors of autumn. But hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes, disease, all these things exist in nature. And though we would see these things, people would love to call nature evil and say that it is Satan that is causing these things to happen. And this is another thing with the Judeo-Christian dogma that is rather irritating. God created everything. God's will be done. Regardless of what you want in life, God is going to do what God wants to do. But for some fucking reason, every time something bad happens, Satan's there doing it. But if that's the truth, then that means God is allowing that to happen. Right? Even though God stands against it, God is allowing that to happen. I honestly think psychology should be taught in school so we can truly understanding our intentions and thoughts, self-awareness, and reader. I don't necessarily think that psychology should be taught in schools, but I think therapy should be given to people like from an early age. Right? I think therapy to guide people through their decisions in life, I think, should be provided. I think that would make sense. Satan's always to blame. Exactly. Satan always gets the blame, but God let it happen. So does not... If you see somebody going into a bank and you to rob the bank and you are aware that that person is robbing the bank, and then you open the door for them to leave with the bag of money, you didn't rob the bank, but does that not make you guilty by proxy? Our laws say as much. That to do nothing is understandable, but to take an action that directly assists the perpetrator in the action of thievery or a crime, the act of a crime, makes you guilty by proxy. Right? So, and the reason I say that psychology, I avoid the idea of psychology being taught in schools at an early age is psychology is still a baby. It is a great science, but it is still an infant in its infant stages, and it's still constantly and perpetually changing and evolving. And so to learn psychology with undeveloped minds, as an adult, if I have a copy of the Diagnostic Criteria, DSM-4, and if I sit down and I read the Diagnostic Criteria, I feel like I have every fucking disorder in the book, because the thing is that we have at some point in our lives shown these pervasive behavior patterns, right, and can identify with these behavior patterns in certain situations and on time periods in our lives. And it most definitely takes a very trained mind to look at these pervasive patterns of behavior and to understand the differential that calls them out, to be a true disorder, right? And I believe to a young developing mind, they need to be treated differently. And this goes to, teenagers. I'm not just talking about young children. I mean, teenagers themselves still have developing minds. Our minds don't really stop developing until I think we're like well into our 20s, most of us. And even then, we're still kind of growing and molding and things like that, right, based on the chemical reactions that happen in our brain, and then the limit of reaction that happens in our brain. The idea of maturity is based on the lack of chemical reaction in the brain to any given situation. Like, let's just be completely honest. A person is considered mature by maintaining silence in a situation where perhaps someone that is 20, 25 would not be silent and would open their mouths and would, fight a point. So maturity, this concept of maturity, of age level maturity, comes from the idea of silence, right? Of being silent in the face of, a situation where one might want to say something. And that just happens due to a lack of chemical reaction in the brain. When you get old, I'm almost 40 years old, and I can tell you the things that I stood against when I was younger, I still stand against. I just don't give a shit anymore. Like, I mean, that's what happens. I just don't fucking care. You know, because once you're almost 40, you kind of begin to realize, you know, I've yelled, I've screamed, I've kicked, I've fought, and this shit's still here. So it's probably not going anywhere. So, you know, let those that want to kick and scream and claw their way through it do so. We teach different religions. Why not psychology? No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think the thing is I think that a base level understanding of how the mind works and understanding how to make healthy decisions, which comes through therapy, right? You know, being able to, right? Because you learn psychology not to help yourself, but to help others, right? So this is the idea of learning and understanding psychology. Psychology is a strange and precarious science because it is one of the few sciences that we don't learn it to have a better understanding of it or of ourselves, but a better understanding of society in general, and to use that understanding to hopefully help the rest of society that may not have that more profound, in-depth understanding of the psychological sciences. However, in order to, you know, to grow as a person, to open one's possibilities, therapy with a psychologist is something that is profound, because the understanding that the patient receives is very different from the understanding that the doctor has, right? Or the therapist has, right? And funny enough, some of the most difficult people to give therapy to are therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, because they have such an in-depth understanding of how the brain works. Giving them or providing them therapy is a very difficult thing to do, because they know all the tricks to help people kind of open up, right? But anyway, back to this idea of Satan and good and evil. So Satan gets blamed for all the bad things to happen, though God allows everything to happen. Which, again, with my analogy for the crime, if you are guilty by proxy for opening the door for a criminal after robbing a bank, right? Would that not make God guilty of evil by proxy for allowing Satan to do what Satan does? I do believe so. This idea of God and the devil and things like that are just... I think that this whole concept is convoluted. Furthermore, the idea of selling one's soul, this is something that I really wanted to cover. And no offense to anyone that believes this is a magical working that you can swing. This is merely my ideas. But in my experience, the soul is the battery that pushes the body forward. Now, I know that many people are uncomfortable with this idea, but you as a person, as who you are today, is a product of your mind. It is not a product of your spirit. Understanding the occult truly is to understand that the occult operates and functions off of energy. That energy is what we can manipulate, is what we draw on, is what we put out there, right? To make things happen, to connect to these entities. That energy is forever connected. We are not owners of that energy. We have our own personal energy. But I believe that we misunderstand this statement when we say it. because we say my energy as if it is your property. And the biggest misconception that we have is that your energy is not your property, it is the property of the universe. Because that energy could not exist without the universe. We know that energy cannot be destroyed, it merely changes form. Right? We know this, we understand this. That energy of the spirit, of the soul, that energy returns to the universe to be reborn again upon our death. But everything that makes us who we are as individuals is of the mind. Now, I believe in spiritual shared experiences. What does this mean? So we all know that we all have heard and know very well past life regression, right? We know through hypnosis we can be brought back to remember periods of time in our lives that have existed before. Memory is energy, right? Your brain must use energy in order to create and hold on to a memory. Some memories we hold on to much more profoundly than others, which is why we can forget things that don't hold really any weight for us. Give me a quick second. I need to close my office door. So again, we can forget things that don't hold a lot of weight for us. They just kind of slip our mind, right? Situations that have happened a few months ago, right? Things that in the moment seem nice or whatever, but really aren't that profound. And there's these big events that we hold on to that we keep through our developmental process as human beings. And so what I believe is happening is those memories, those imprints rather, because it's not the whole memory, it's a piece of the imprint of that memory that returns to the universal energy. And upon the soul, the spiritual battery of life returning to a new body, then what happens from there is we are now not only connected to the accumulation of events that soul has been through in different lifetimes, but also potentially memories and situations that have nothing to do with that particular spiritual energy, but that are just floating around in the field, so to speak. Right? And so when we go through this past life regression, we begin to kind of trigger these kind of kaleidoscope effect memories that have happened through centuries of kind of pulling up and pulling through. Another reason why I believe that magic is also kind of like the power of magic in the occult has greatly diminished over time is the sheer amount of people that exist on the planet. Because if we really take it into consideration, we sit there and we think about it, we think about the amount of people that existed back when we said that there were dragons and that there were fairies and that there were all these things that existed that most of us, many of us believe wholeheartedly truly existed. And now it is very difficult to reach these things. And if we take into consideration this idea of universal shared energy, that we're sharing energy, right, to exist, the more people there are, the thinner that energy field gets. Which is one of the reasons why I believe that magic is not as powerful as it used to be. Add on top of that, that many people rebuke the idea of working in magic. That the Catholics, I wholeheartedly believe this, the Catholics knew what they were doing during the Crusades. They knew what they were doing. They wanted to end the existence of magic. And they knew in order to do that, they needed to make people afraid to practice magic, practice personal magic, to reach for gnosis, to reach for understanding. They knew that they needed to end that. And when we talk about a culture and potentially taking over the world, the Catholics are the only ones to successfully take over the planet by making it your choice. Oh, exactly, but they're not stupid though. See, the thing is there's something that needs to be said for the Catholic Church. They wanted to end the personal practice of magic, allowing certain types of magic to be conducted, but only in the name of their dogma, which provided more power to their dogma. Knowing and understanding that that energy was being pushed into that organization. I mean, there's a reason why there's a hierarchy that exists inside the Catholic Church that doesn't exist in any other religion. There's popes and there's bishops and things like that, right? It's a pyramid of power. And the power that is drawn from the base flows up to the top. It flows up to the eye of the pyramid. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew how they wanted this to be done. Welcome, Tresap. So they knew what they were doing when they started killing women and children and the elderly and burning scriptures and history of a cult of a cult culture. They knew what they were doing. They were using a power that they knew that existed to benefit their organization in growing. Why do you think, if they truly hated occult, the occult nature of things, if they truly believed that magic is evil and all of this stuff, only personal forms of magic are evil. If you use tarot, if you cast spells, if you speak to the old gods, if you practice ancestral magic, that is evil, because the power produced from that magic doesn't feed up the pyramid. But if you go to church, you receive the blood and body of Christ, you pray, all of these things feed into the pyramid. It's all magic. It just all feeds into the pyramid. It feeds the direction that they want to go. And if they truly hated this stuff, they wouldn't have adopted the Christmas tree. They wouldn't have allowed Halloween to continue in the modern era. They would have snuffed that shit out a long time ago, but they didn't. They wouldn't have moved all of their holidays closer to the equinoxes and the solstices. They wouldn't have done that. But they did because they knew, one, practicing directly on that day might convolute things, and the power that they're trying to absorb would go other places instead of up the pyramid. So make it close enough where the occultists are happy with it. Put enough occult imagery on the churches so they don't feel completely segregated and left out, right? That they're completely abandoning their beliefs, but make their power work for us. That is what the Catholic Church has done. The Catholic Church has constructed a system that steals our power. This is one of the largest reasons why I will not accept the idea or concept of a Christian witch. You can do what you want and I will respect you, but I will not accept the idea or concept of a Christian witch, because that is taking our power and feeding it directly into them. Of course there is mysticism in Christianity. They took it from us. Like, I think that is the most ridiculous statement that anyone in the occult can make. Well, there's so much mysticism in the church. Yes, of course there is. They stole it from us. And they continue to steal it from us. Almost over 1,000 years later, and they're still stealing from us to this day. And now it's getting to a point with this Christian mysticism and, you know, there's this Christian witchery. Now we're just throwing it at them. We're feeding the pyramid. Everything they did was designed to make us weak. Everything they did was to make us afraid of being who we are. Everything they do is designed to make us afraid to be who we are. The whole concept or idea of selling your soul, coming back to the point, you can't sell what isn't yours. Your soul is universally connected to the cosmos, to everything. It is energy that we are borrowing from the universe. It is not ours to sell. The idea of selling your soul and the concept of eternal damnation. There's a difference between Christ consciousness and Christ is just a title. Like, I mean, Christ just means the anointed one. Like, and then you have Joseph, and Joseph was a prototype for Jesus. I personally do not believe that Jesus ever actually existed. Jesus is a solar metaphor. That's all that Jesus is. And I won't say Christ, because Christ isn't a fucking name, it's a title. Jesus was a solar metaphor, created and built around the occult practices of the time, where occultists followed the moon, the phases of the moon, the alignment of the stars, to practice magic, to practice divination. The Catholics and these other monotheistic religions that kind of came through went the opposite direction and went with the sun, following the movement of the sun. In comparison to the earth. And the thing is a lot of people have a hard time letting go of these Abrahamic practices, because when we look at things like Lilith, because I mean, I say at the beginning of the show, hail Lilith. Lilith is rifled through Jewish mysticism. Is all through Jewish mysticism. But the thing that we need to understand that we keep forgetting is, the more we sit here and we talk about these Abrahamic faiths in this manner, what we're saying is that these are the oldest documented faiths that exist. And we know that that's not true. We know that Judaism and Christianity and Islam are not the oldest faiths who graze this planet. We know that there are thousands of spiritual beliefs before them. And then when we understand that and we look at all of these spiritual beliefs that existed prior to the Abrahamic faiths, we begin to see where they got all their stuff from. Lilith was mentioned in Sumerian texts long before Jewish mysticism ever took hold. No, I completely agree, Trisab. I completely agree. And so the biggest thing that we need to learn is we need to stop giving validity to these Abrahamic faiths. Because what we're doing by giving validity to these Abrahamic faiths and practicing inside of these Abrahamic ideals, which we do, for as far away from that shit as we are, we're still right under its foot. The more validity we give to it, the more power we give to that pyramid. Right? It's a metaphorical pyramid. I'm not talking about a physical one, right? If we look at the Catholic Church and the structure of the Catholic Church and how it's built from the ground up, going all the way up to the Pope, it's a pyramid to focus energy. So it's difficult to break away, but unfortunately, like, one of the saddest things that I'm beginning to see inside of the occult community is more and more people referencing Jesus and Christian mysticism as a valid form of occultism. And for as much as I want to be an inclusive community, and we do accept people that practice Christian mysticism in this community, I do not accept the existence of the possibility of being a witch and a Christian at the same time. They took so much from us and they continue to take. And to open that door and say, sure, Christianity and mysticism and occultism can exist simultaneously. No, they cannot. No, they cannot. They cannot exist simultaneously because they steal from us. They stole our holidays. They stole our imagery. They destroyed our history. They killed our people. And they continue to take from us. To this very day, every time there is mass, they take from us. So the idea of selling your soul, you can't sell what isn't yours. You don't need to sell your soul to Satan. You don't need to make a pact with an entity to gain power. You need to understand the universal connection that you can draw upon. You can draw upon, one of the reasons why covens are so powerful is because they draw upon each other. Instead of having one focal point, you have a group of people creating a massive focal point to manipulate energy. Your soul is your power source. It's what keeps the body going. It doesn't belong to God. It doesn't belong to the devil. It doesn't belong to you. It is something the universe is sharing with you, and it should be respected. It should be reveled. That inner work that we talk about, when we talk about in the occult, we talk about shadow work, right? So shadow work, when we talk about shadow work, we talk about the mental self connected to the spiritual self. But when we talk about spiritual, inner spiritual work, we're talking about reaching the soul source of your existence, that thing that powers you. If you can work internally into yourself and reach that spiritual self, the true spiritual self, the power that is given to you, that is lent to you by the universe, you can follow the root of that power to everything. And the first person to truly be able to do that, I have no doubt in my mind that the first person that can truly do that will have godlike power on this planet. I am not claiming that I've been able to fully reach my spiritual self. Hell no. I have not. I will not claim such ridiculousness. But the first person to be able to do this will have a direct line to the universe itself, that the universal energy, the cosmic energy of everything. So there's no need to fear Satan. There's no need to fear a God that doesn't exist. There's no need to fear anything. Fear is the forerunner of failure. Fear is the thing that is stopping us from truly moving forward. That doubt in our mind of what if we're wrong. The bold claim that I will make is I know that I'm not. 20 years doing this, I know that I'm not. I know I'm not wrong in this. And that being so, I have no spiritual fear. I'm not afraid of possessions. I'm not afraid of working with different entities and things like that. Because there's nothing to be afraid of. The only thing we're going to gain from our interactions with the entities on the other side is a deeper spiritual understanding. And I believe that there are different ways to achieve the same thing. When I say that I know that I'm not wrong, I'm not saying that the way that I do things is the only way to do it. Because that would be a fallacy. That would be arrogance. Just like any way of getting anywhere from point A to point B, there are 1,000 different directions that you can go. The fastest being the straight line, but we very rarely ever have a straight line that we can travel. Some paths are longer. Some paths are shorter. But at the end of the day, the important part of all of this is the journey, not the destination. It's what we pick up and what we learn on the way to where we're going. That's what we need to remember. Anyway, everyone, it has been a pleasure to come back. I have missed you all greatly. I'm very happy to be back doing the Sunday Black Mass. So I thank you all for coming. I thank you all for joining. And again, Hail Satan. Hail Lilith. Hail Lucifer. Hail Pyman. Hail Baphomet. And as always, hail thy fucking self. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace the fuck out. Have a wonderful Sunday and Memorial Day weekend. Goodbye.